Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hope Speaks podcast here on the Sheet of Hope channel. We are very excited to be joined by Geno DeMarco today, the head coach of Geneva Football. Welcome to the program.
Donnie, good to meet you, buddy.
Good to meet you, too.
Yeah.
We've had a long and exciting day today.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I really appreciate the time that you and my brother David spent investing into our players. They were very excited about it. There was a buzz in the air. We've got incredible kids. Our coaching staff's committed to the program, and we're just grateful that you came.
Well,
I mean
thank
that
you.
Sincerely.
Thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Sure.
For people that don't know, we were out shooting at Geneva Football today, getting some behind the scenes, some B-roll, and building on top of what we hope is going to be a great season and great marketing for the season as well. Yeah. So you guys are in spring ball right now, correct?
Yeah, we're going to have one more practice, and then we send them home for the summer, and we're hopeful that they're going to actually work out and come back. That's what happens in small college football. But yeah, we got committed kids. They'll be back, and they're hungry. Mm-hmm. Incredible group.
And you guys have big locker rooms there. So how many people do you field on a football squad each year?
Well, I mean, honestly, we're on a campaign. It's an internal campaign, but now that I'm speaking to you, it's going to go all over the world, right? We want to put one Geneva football player on every acre at Geneva College. So that's 133 acres that the college has. Not a big college, but 133. So the goal was one day to get to 133. And I think we'll come in with about 120 this year.
Okay. Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, and it helps because with that number, you're able to get a lot of the young guys playing on Monday Night Football, which is developmental football. So if you don't play on Saturday night, you're playing on Monday night. And we have seen a lot of our players develop from that Monday night experience of playing against athletes their own age. It's incredible. And I think very, very important for them to be able to see some light at the end of the tunnel, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's why 120 for us is such a pivotal number to be able to put those things back in place like we've had in the past.
Yeah. And compared to NFL rosters that only hold like 53 to 56 players. So where does 120 actually compare to as far as schools that you play and also like the past that you've coached? Is 120 a good amount? Because from the outside perspective, 120 sounds like a lot of kids.
Well, there's a couple places. One that wins championships quite regularly that's in Alliance, Ohio. And Mount Union probably will carry about 230.
Wow.
And they have enough. They've done it better than anybody at any level. There's a lot of Division III schools that'll carry 160, just with the idea of having a full JV program. Sometimes it's for enrollment purposes. I mean, what we want to do is we're actually looking for a roster between 1 and 100 and trying to build that roster and get the best top 100 players we can. I mean, 90 is usually the number coaches think. If you can get 90 guys that can actually play college football at a decent level, then your program is going to sustain itself over the long term.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for when you're recruiting or talking to certain kids?
Donnie, it depends. If we're in the state of Pennsylvania, there's a couple of things that we have in state right now that the college is committed to. With the rising cost of higher education, our administration has come up with an idea and a plan that we used this past year called the Geneva Tuition Promise. And what that is a family's making $70,000 or less, and that the student gets Pell money, which is federal money. And if they get their app in and do their FAFSA by March 1st, Geneva will promise them free tuition for 4 years. That is a huge, huge thing for us. So we can get that market segment. And a lot of times we'll find decent students in that area. But a lot of times we're also looking for really, really good students, guys that want to get their 4-year nationally accredited engineering degree. Because, being a school of about 1,200 and to be able to have an ABET accredited engineering program, you don't find many of those, okay? So you got a Christian school that plays football that has engineering, I mean, that's pretty much something that you can market out of state, in state, whatever. Then the other unique program that we have is if you have a 3.6 or higher, you can actually be part of our business scholars program, where in 4 years you can walk away with an MBA. That is just, to me, it's different types of programs that we have. They're unique, that not a whole lot of schools have. So we're either going to do the 3+1 business. We go after the engineering students, the Geneva Promise. We also have some new majors in gaming. I mean, this, like, we just introduced this, and so I guess the students come in and they learn how to program and do things in information systems and write programs for games, video games.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a big thing for my generation.
It's a big deal for you guys.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think that'll become an Olympic sport soon.
Well, they have esports at colleges and universities. I thought that's where you were going at first with esports and competing. It's weird that they actually call it esports, isn't it?
Yeah, electronic, right.
Yeah.
E for electronic or electrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's became so big now. Esports is also now on ESPN. Like, you can actually watch other colleges face each other. It's the crazy downfall of ESPN, isn't it?
No, I walked in the other day, and I walked into the IT department, right? And these guys run the world. So because every time my computer doesn't turn on, I go see them, which is probably once a week. And they're in there, and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Are you playing a game?" And I don't even know what these games are called anymore, but whatever. Back in my day, it was Pong. And they go, "No, we're watching two people play this game." They're watching two people play the game, like from some other side of the world, playing each other. What is that?
Well, it was probably on Twitch, most likely, or YouTube. And it was just, I was watching streamers play. So they're called streamers.
Streamers?
And so they stream themselves playing a game. I would be very honest with you, and I have watched that as well. There's a YouTuber. I haven't streamed per se, but I've watched.
But you watch other guys, other people.
Instead
play
of picking up and playing the game, it's better just go online and watch them play the game.
I know this is your podcast, but let me ask you. So what kind of strategy do you use, like when you're watching two people, doing this e-game stuff?
Yeah. So just like podcasting, the best streamers are the ones that talk through the game that they're playing and are actually like comical, or they have some charisma. So really, you watch it for the streamer. You don't really watch it for the game.
You don't watch for the game. It's just some outlandish guy that's like half crazy.
I shouldn't say nobody watches it for the game. I feel like maybe that 10% watches it for the game, but it's all about the personality behind playing the game.
Interesting. And that has become e-games. Yeah. I have no idea why we're talking about this, but probably for your benefit. Well, we got that. Okay, but the other thing that we have is something a little bit more serious, a lot more serious, is we have a piloting program where students can come and they get an opportunity to learn how to fly a plane. And the place that we have it is right up the road at our community college. We've got an agreement with them we've had for many, many years. The community college right there, that airport, I should say, is going through a pretty good makeover. They're gonna put some money into it, and make it different. So if it's air traffic control or if it's flying a plane, what I list, you can fly a plane, you can watch planes fly, you can game, you can watch people play games. You can actually be the electrical engineer that puts the games together, and you can get an MBA in 4 years and run the company that does all of that. Mm-hmm. I think we covered everything. We did. And actually, I kind of want to go into the next subject. I was going to take us back to 1993 when you started, but I guess I'll ask this now since we're on this topic of, what's in and what's out compared to generations. How do you coach this generation? Because every generation that you coach has to be like every 4 years a new generation that comes in has to be different, right? They tell me that, yeah. And I've tried to stay ahead of the curve. I'm not their buddy. Like, they know that I really care about them as people. It's difficult. The same characteristics that we had put down in our program as objectives to this is who we're going to be, right? Christian school. We're going to talk about, character, attitude, responsibility, effort, all that stuff. But it always goes back to us is always us. So the theme is it's an unselfish collective where you get kids coming from all different backgrounds. That's the one thing I love about Geneva football is you got kids coming from every socioeconomic background. You got people coming from Pittsburgh. You got people coming from out your way. You got people from Georgia and Florida, Texas coming in, and they get an opportunity to get in that huddle. And when you're in that huddle and on that field, ain't nobody looking around saying this, that, and the other. That's just the game of football. The difference in the generations, I think, is that this generation wants to know why. And I don't think it's a reason that they asked that. I don't think the reason they asked that question is because they're being defiant. I think they just want to know, how does this all fit? If somebody didn't ask the question, why are we running through tires? Like we ran through tires. So we had, old tires on a practice field in high school. Our high school practice field was right next to a guy that ran a auto dealership or fixed cars, and he would burn the tires while we were playing.
Good advertising.
Yeah, it was. No, it was horrible. We all got like black lung doing it.
Well, but I meant for him.
For him, yeah. And then you take the tires. So we're running through tires, right? And you find out the greatest thing about running through tires is you get really good at what? Running through tires. So the question is, why are we doing that? So then somebody said, well, let's put together a new thing and let's do this. And then somebody said, well, do you ever do that on the field? No, but it really helps with high knee action and everything like that. Maybe we can come up with a couple of drills that really simulate what happens in football. And that's a great example of somebody just asking a question, why? And I have no idea why it went back to 1975, smelling that guy burning tires on purpose in the middle of August, right near the practice field.
So do you see, I guess to address the tire thing, do you think it's more because all these football movies have came out within past 20 years? Like you've had a good strain of football movies come out. Do you feel like my generation or even the generation below us that's coming up through college and still playing football, do you think because they saw it on TV, like the tire drills, they just expect it more than asking why?
Yeah. And so what we did, and when we run this offense that we have, which is archaic and very difficult to stop because nobody sees it, what was the one thing that I went out and did? I went out and bought one of those, I don't even know if it's a machine. It's just a thing that has nothing but tires on it. And what do? You take the ball and you run right through the tire. And the reason you do it is so that you hold on to the football. But we got that kind of because of some of the things that you say. So here's the whole deal, Donnie. Because you got to be able to stay ahead of the curve. You got to be able to grab their interest, right? But you don't let go of those things in the past that just remain constant, okay? And it's okay. Like when I tell them that I am a man with no swag, they like that. When I tell all my recruits that I shake hands with everybody like this, they think it's absolutely like, well, yeah, that's what he does. And I'm not into I'm still listening to music I did when I was in high school. And I don't expect those guys to listen to it, but I think the bigger thing is, no matter what generation it's been, if players really know that you care about them as a person, that they can trust you, because it's all about the first thing is trying to establish that trust between coach and player. How do you do that? How do you do that in life with people that you never met? Well, you got to spend some time, and you got to go through some things together. And I think that trust is a huge, huge thing. I think the other thing is, if you can infuse some sort of hope. I love your podcast and what it talks about.
Well, thank you.
I really do. Hope. I mean, people are looking for hope. and hope deferred makes the heart sick. I mean, that's scripture. So anytime you're talking about a process of improvement or being able to take a young man, and he's a decent football player now, but he's going to be able to get even better. It's got to show, he's got to see the hope in him improving, not only as a player, but as a student and definitely as a young man. So I think that hope is something that's there, that you got to have. So that trust thing really has to build. That hope thing has to build, and I mean they got to know that you care about them. You got to. When it's all said and done, I mean, players, that hasn't changed. That hasn't changed. So, back then, if you're blowing a whistle and you're making 120 guys run around the field, and you're not connecting with them off the field in some way, like why are we running 100? Why are we running around? We don't even do laps anymore. Like the last thing we want is our linemen running, whatever those things are, 360s or 440s or 200, 400s, yeah, whatever. We don't do that. They got to know you care. Once they do, then they start to trust you. Then I think you can start that whole process of improvement and start building hope. Like, hey, let's get this thing done together. Because, and when you look at it, it looks a whole lot like the end of 1 Corinthians 13. It really does.
Well, I think the hope and the faith that was presented today at the university, because when you get a chance to watch the interviews that we have with your football players, I mean, your fingerprints are all over them already. Because when they talked about how the locker room and through football they found more, some of them came in with a faith background, but most of them also gained faith or learned about God through the process of football. And they talked about that. So your fingerprints are all over that. So,
well, I don't know if it's my fingerprints, but I can tell you this: that I really think that when you look at a Christian school and a place like Geneva, where you don't have to be a Christian to be there, a lot of people don't understand that. But these are the things that we're going to do. We are going to pray with our guys. We're going to bring them in and hold them accountable. We're going to try to speak life into them, be there in the toughest and darkest times of their life, celebrate when they have the greatest times of their lives. And, the thing about us is always us is it just doesn't end. The tagline on us is always us is, time and distance are no factors. Well, if you really, really want to look at that and put it into some sort of a context, even spiritually, I mean, us is always us. Time and distance are no factors. I mean, what you're talking about really, the only true thing that exists in that way is the body of Christ.
Yeah. Let's talk about that team in 1998 then. Number one team in 1998. Yeah. Now that wasn't was that the first number one team? Because you've had multiple number one teams, correct?
No, that was the first time Geneva's had any number one team in any sport. And what happened was we had, 93 was the first year. 94, we just missed the playoffs. 95, 96, 97, we go to the playoffs. Preseason ranking comes out. We're second. Somebody in front of us loses. And for the month of September, we're number one in the country, NAI. I mean, it's just like, whoa. But that was, the NAI was an excellent division of football. It was a lot of private schools, a lot of church-related schools, old school values, and you could give players scholarship money. They got academic money. NAI actually had more rules than what we have now in Division III. And I am a huge NAI fan for their stance on certain things that are happening now that the NCAA just absolutely continues to shove down our throats. I am not at all a fan of the NCAA because it is definitely something that they're trying to do. And it's a cultural war that as the only sport that men play. we're constantly under attack because of it. So, when we made the transition to go to the NCAA because there were no NAIA schools left to play, it has taken us a while to find out how this works. And we're in a heck of an area with great schools that have great academic, prowess, and we try to go and find kids. And somehow, some way, during all the phases of all of these years, we find a way to win. Recently, it's been tough because we were very, very, very competitive. People did not want to play us because of the offense that we ran, and because they knew they were going to get into it was going to be a physical thing. We're going to try to get back to that this year. That's key number one. We got a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who believe that are hungry because they see the opportunity. And in some ways, for me, this is kind of like I don't want to say a restart, but I'd call it phase 4. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go run this triple option that people think is outdated, but it involves things like physics and engineering and chemistry, and defensively we're going to pressure the quarterback. It's going to be fun. We got some young guys. We'll have a young team, but we are building and we're putting major foundational concepts and foundational pieces in place for the future.
Now, we're going to end with one quick thing here. And we wouldn't be an entertainment show without asking you to name your top 3 football movies of all time.
Top 3 football movies
of all time.
Oh man, I mean, the number one. Yeah, I mean, how can you not? How can you not? And I met him. I actually met Coach. He came to speak. But of course he was played by what's his face, Washington.
Denzel
Washington. So, that one. Wasn't any of that one?
So you're talking about Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans. Yeah, I can't say Titans too long. Remember the Titans. And
is it because there's another team in your conference?
Yeah. Number one, when I was the athletic director, I would never allow anyone to wear anything blue into the field house. And that came because when I took the job in '93 and I walked through the locker room, for whoever the president was at Geneva before told somebody, go down and plate those locker rooms blue. I found it detestable. It was just horrible. And then we started beating them, and it's a great rivalry. But anyway, Remember the Titans would be number one. And
I just want you to repeat that again, by the way.
Remember the yeah. But and I got a chance to meet him. I got pictures. He came and spoke at our chapel. Not Denzel Washington, but the actual Coach Boone, Herman Boone. And he runs the option. So we sat and had a clinic after, got pictures, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, he was just such an old school coach. So I would ask him a question, like, can we run a play action off of this? And he'd go, no, why would you want to run a play action off of this? I mean, he treated me like one of his players. I thought that was pretty good. That's number one. I think number 2 is definitely We Are Marshall. Yeah. And I had an opportunity to get to know the people in West Virginia, and one of my coaches was actually on the sideline the day that Marshall beat a team from Cincinnati, Xavier, after the plane crash. So that probably would be second. And then the third thing, as far as football, those two for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I named my dog Rudy. All right. And I know that was like, you look at that and got this guy running around, blah, 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 blah. There was something about that. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Rudy. That's the third one. Remember the People. 2. What was it? Number 2. Number 2 is We Are Marshall. Number 3 is Rudy.
Vince Papale, though. We were talking about that earlier today, too.
Who's that?
Vince Papale with Invincible.
Oh, that guy.
Good movie.
Great soundtrack.
Yes.
Not a big fan of the movie, but
Okay.
the soundtrack is really kind of cool.
But you can say Eagles, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Eagles.
There we go. Well, Geno DeMarco, thank you for joining me.
I'm sure people that listen to us are dumber now for what we've said. They will be awarded no points. And may God have mercy on your soul. One of the greatest lines from Billy Madison ever.
Well, Geno, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
This has been the Hope Speaks podcast here on the Shield of Hope channel. For all our episodes, be sure to check out Spotify and YouTube, and we will see you all on the next episode.